This is Served with me, Andy Roddick. Please hit subscribe. We drop new episodes every week. You remember when the year was off to a rocky start?
Yeah, you remember when people were worried about him?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at, okay, also, and Carlos mentioned this in his press, and we'll get to the match breakdown and all that stuff too, but like, imagine winning Indian Wells, winning Miami, and then all of a sudden there's this like spot in the schedule where if you were ever going to like take your foot off the accelerator, it's probably Monte Carlo for him. Shows up, wins again, beats out. I mean, I don't know. Like these two are just elevating, and we've been saying it for a long time. And then they just like prove it harder. Like, it's a joke.
Just more. They were both so dominant.
But let's think of a couple of things that like we would have said about Sinner, not even 5 years ago, 2 years ago. Okay, like he's won majors. He's going to be number one. I bet he's going to win a bunch of majors. But can he play on clay? Grass isn't his favorite surface. You know, can he sustain it all the time? Is this going to? Yes. Like clay is what Alcaraz is supposed to, like, that's a great surface for him, as we've seen, and he's won Roland Garros. Like, Sinner didn't miss a beat. Indian Wells, which is a way different experience than Miami, which is way different than Monte Carlo. You put these guys on anything, and that was the big change that happened during, I say my generation, but like Roger, Rafa, Novak. Like Pete was dominant. Pete was amazing. Pete won 14 slams. Pete's 6-time year-end number one. And Pete would lose at, Roland Garros like third round sometimes. He would lose to Cedric Kaufman from Kentucky, by way of France, by way of Kentucky, University of Kentucky. He would take weird losses. These guys, I mean, Sinner lost one match in the Middle East and we were like, oh gosh, what's going on? But that's an expectation that's created by your own shadow. Right? I mean, it's just absurd. And like, you take out that 2-day situation where Carlos wins Australia and, and then it's like Sinner's string. I mean, at post-US Open last year, heater. I don't know, JW. I mean, what do you, I don't know how we keep telling the same story over and over and make it like,
I was going to say, it makes it challenging for podcasters, which is really what's most important. Because we keep coming back to the same themes. These guys, look at so Sinner overtakes Carlos. We can get to Mike's ranking points conundrum in a minute, but the number 3 player in the world has fewer than half as many. Zverev has 5,555, and these two guys are 1,300 and 240 and 13,350.
Zverev's closer to Bill Ackman than he is to Alcaraz.
Yeah, Zverev's closer to my. I don't know where to start. I mean, first of all, love the rivalry, right? We talk about it a lot. All of a sudden, four straight sets in a row in this head-to-head. But then in the middle, Alcaraz does pick off his 7th major. It was like, I was thinking about this too, like point. A year ago. Was that what?
I said Ackman's close. I mean, he has a doubles point. I don't have a doubles point, so he's actually closer.
Zero. We just need 0 points.
More points than I do. Sorry, go ahead, as you were.
Yeah, exactly. That's a hell of a points diff. That's a good way to look at it. Zverev is actually closer to, the guy that drove him to the match than he is to and it was just no disrespect. I mean, it's kind of, I was thinking like, remember Jill Stein? It's just like everyone else has become this kind of irrelevant third party. I mean, these two guys are just absolutely dominating. And I was thinking too, Sinner last year misses 4 big tournaments: Indian Wells, Miami, Monte Carlo, which is a home game for him, and then Madrid. He could basically pull a quadruple. He could win every event he wasn't eligible to play last year. I do think he's better on clay than people give him credit for.
I think the credit's there now. I mean, he almost won the French Open. He's winning. He's beating Alcaraz. What else you do?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, these guys are getting it done on every surface, and we're sort of running out of things to say. I mean, one thing that struck me, we can get to the match in a second. Remember 2 weeks ago, we talked about how he'd really elevated his serving, and the ATP website had a great story filled with all the data, and we were breaking down his motion. He had 0 aces.
He served 51% in the final.
That's insane.
He didn't serve well.
How much of that was wind? But adjusting the game.
A lot of it, but that goes both ways. And it's like, point being, Alcaraz was getting looks at second serve returns, and he still won, I think, 65% of his second serve points.
Exactly. I think he won as many second serve points as first serve points. Sinner had one ace in his last 2 matches. He beats the number 3 player in the world handily, 1 ace, and then beats his rival, who is now the number 2 player in the world, 0 aces. So he's not even getting it done by like tuning the ball the way he was in Miami. I mean, this is just we're sort of running out of things we're running out of superlatives here. But it's kind of the point. I was talking real quick. I was talking to a coach a few weeks ago, and I said, what are we going to do here? And the guy said, well, you never know what happens. These guys get injured. Guys can have a girlfriend. The way this monopoly was going to get broken up, and this is a top coach, the way he was seeing it was going to be some sort of injury or self-sabotage. It wasn't like, oh, somebody's going to mount a charge and it's going to be Djokovic in 2011. The way this monopoly gets broken up is a girlfriend. Like that's where we are. It's extraordinary.
Zverev said mid-match, right? And I believe it was Nick Lester said this on Tennis TV. They translated it. He said to his dad over in his box in Russian, he said, I don't know how to play him. And I just can't, I mean, can you quantify that the world number 3, one of the best players on earth, is looking at the guy across the court and he's like, I can't figure this guy out. And he's played him a ton.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know that I would have volunteered it if he hadn't said it on TV to his dad.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I talked to Zverev in the offseason, we had a long chat just in that matchup stresses him out the most. He's like, even with Carlos, in tennis, it's all about matchups. That's not to say that Zverev says this, therefore he thinks Sinner is better than Alcaraz or vice versa. I would have rather played Rafa on a hard court than Roger, right? That doesn't mean that one's better than the other. It's just the way it is with matchups. And like he was stressed then, and I'm sure the losses in Indian Wells, Miami, and Monte Carlo probably haven't helped that. But like think about it, right? Let's just be kind of pragmatic about it, because what happens when a matchup is bad and people don't know what to say is like they'll go to like these lazy things where it's like, well, you just have to want it more, or you just like that's what people say, or like you just gotta step in and hit the ball harder. It's like, okay, off of Sinner's ball like that. Okay, well that doesn't make any sense. But you end up going to these lazy kind of cliche sports taglines when there's not like an obvious path. And I can relate to what Zverev's saying. I never said it out loud on the court, but I knew specifically with Roger, and that doesn't mean that I didn't have to execute it at an insane level. It just means my game was slightly more effective based on what I did well against Rafa and Novak, right? But against Roger specifically, everything I did, he didn't mind. He didn't mind pace. He didn't mind people trying to go through the court. He knew he had an out. Like anytime he was in trouble, he could hit the short chip to my backhand. I can't hit topspin. So the matchup, right? I knew that I had to play a different style and I had to execute it perfectly, and I needed him to give a little. That's a depressing way to go about business, right? And I think that's probably where Zverev is like, I probably know what I have to do to execute, not even to win, but to give myself a chance. And this is someone who's 3 in the world. I mean, we talked about, Sean, you threw was he 18-6 on the year, deep in Australia, deep in Indian Wells, deep in Miami, deep in Monte Carlo. He's having a much better season post-Australia than he did last year. He's having a much better year to date, playing much better than he did last year. And he's got a problem. Yeah, what is 1 in 4. It's not. It's some of them are lopsided. When he plays well, it's kind of close. But these are. I mean, 1 in 4 is. It's not 0-0 like the old Medi burger, but 1 in 4 is convincing. When you have a big serve, you have a weapon. You're supposed to be able to neutralize. I don't mind. I mean, Zverev's saying it. Yeah, I can believe he's saying it because we all are, and I don't think any of us are really wrong.
It's not about believing it. I think it's to John's point, right? It's like what is the solve? And I think when you look at the fact. Yeah. We were talking about the stat of the day being 26,590, and that's the combined ranking points of Sinner and Alcaraz right now. They're both over 13,000 points. In the next closest is Zverev at 5,595. It's when you look at Zverev's record on the year, he's lost 6. He's lost 4 have been to.
I might get this wrong.
Sinner and Alcaraz.
Are you ready for some context on these numbers? Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm wrong, it's not by much. I want to say the year that I finished number 1 in the world. I think I had like 4,800 points. So Zverev might currently have more points than I did when I finished number one in the world. And if I'm off, it's not by that much.
45, 35.
There you go. So less.
Wow.
Okay, so let's let that sink in.
That's crazy.
So I finished one with 4,500 points. They have 13,000. It's like they've won Galaga and like every like,
exactly.
Like it's a dated reference. That's a video game for the younger listeners. Sean,
I've played Galaga.
Okay. It's like when you get the top score in an arcade game and like the top 10 name, they're all the same initials and they're super annoying.
Yeah. Well,
think about that though. I mean, it was so they've tripled up and then some of what my point total was to get to number one in the world.
I think they have more points than the next 6 players combined in the rankings.
That's super fucked up, man.
I guess that's what happens when. So how does this? Well, let me ask you a few questions. We can go speed round, but so what breaks this up? I mean, it's gotten to the point where if they didn't, I mean, you know, in fairness, like Zverev did serve for the Australian Open final. You know, he did serve for the match in the semis against Alcaraz. And there is a guy named Djokovic who will be back in the best of 5 game. But seriously, what breaks this up?
Just so we're clear, like I think the matchup is better. It doesn't mean it's good. The matchup is better for Zverev against Alcaraz than it is against Sinner, and I don't think that's controversial. It has nothing to do with who's better as a tennis player. It's simply what I do well, how does it fit into the problem solving against what they do well and what they like to see. Simple. You know, well, we let's not like lose our memories too much. Okay, let's just, what is the thing that can get to Sinner? You know the answer to this.
5 sets.
Heat.
Well, Elliot Spizzirri. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Heat, his body, you know, since he was sick, I guess, there have been times where heat can bother him. That is a weakness, but only compared to his own shadow. You know, there's a lot of guys that don't like it. He's just always on center court. So we see it. But that is like an opportunity. If I'm a player and I'm trying to convince myself that I have a chance and I see that it's going to be 96 degrees, I'm going, okay, I feel 10% better about my chance, right? So that's one thing. We were worried about that with Alcaraz a couple years ago, and he seems to have, through some version of diet and whatever else, or just kind of getting into that scenario. Alcaraz, if you take like if the conversation hasn't just been Alcaraz Sinner, yada 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 yada, the reason that argument is the same post Australia is because of Sinner and not necessarily because of Alcaraz. All right, the reason it's Alcaraz Sinner is because Alcaraz won the major, and then Sinner has filled in the blanks. Alcaraz took losses in Indian Wells and in Miami, right? You know, if it's just one of them, you're going, okay, maybe we can get a piece, and I don't know. I don't know. As far as like humans go, I don't know. We're having to dig real deep to kind of try to find some space for hope in this, JW. If you're someone else on tour.
Let me ask you another. No, I think you're right. I think, and the flip side is like how lucky we are to witness not just this greatness, but these guys pushing it. You know, Sinner's out there hitting drop shots. You think he's doing that because he isn't thinking about his opponent? I mean, we talked about these guys are elevating each other.